So these meetings will be recorded, and at the suggestion of one of the executive committee members, I think we'll try to establish a YouTube channel for Senate and just have a link to that on the Senate website. And then after the meeting, I'll upload the recording to YouTube. YouTube will transcribe it for us, and I'm sure they'll make a lot of sense out of it, but with the owl and all that. So that's one key part of the amended resolution. It also refers to details in an appendix, and the appendix is attached. I will send this out to you if you want to review it yourselves. This detail says in the appendix that if a member is unable to be physically present at one of the designated public meeting locations and wishes to participate by video conferencing from a private location due to extraordinary circumstances, the member must notify the chair of the Senate no later than 4 business days prior to the scheduled meeting in order for proper notice to the public to be given. If a determination has been made, the president of the Senate, that such extraordinary circumstances exist, then the chair of the Senate shall, it should be chair of the Senate there. Then the chair of the Senate shall take the necessary steps to convene an extraordinary circumstances video conference meeting. It goes on, but basically I'm pretty confident that every Senate meeting that we have, there'll be someone who won't be able to attend in person. So we can just plan that there will be video conferencing as an option for Senate meetings during this year until this law changes, hopefully someday. But it means that we do need in-person quorum, but this appendix is an addition. That key part I highlighted is significant. The other significant piece, as I mentioned, is that we need to record the meetings. So before I proceed, do you have any questions about those changes? Okay. So the process with the input of our parliamentarian, I'm sorry, Leslie, I keep calling you my parliamentarian because I feel so dependent, is that we need a motion to reconsider the amendment. Then we need a motion, well, once we pass that, and we need a motion to amend the amendment. And once we pass that, then we need a motion to approve the amended amendment. So 3 votes. According to Robert.
Motion to reconsider the resolution?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yes, that's the word that I wanted. So the first thing we need is a motion to reconsider the resolution.
So moved.
Anthony moved and Loretta seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And now a motion to amend the resolution.
So moved.
Anita and.
So Christy, sorry, can I just,
Please.
Christy, I just want to make sure, because I was in the waiting room for the initial vote, that the mover had to have been in favor of the motion. So if Anthony moved, was he in favor of the motion last time?
Oh, yes.
It was unanimous.
It was unanimous.
Okay.
It's a fair point, according to Robert's rules. If you are going to move to reconsider a resolution, you had to have been in favor of the resolution first. Someone opposed to it can't say, hey, I want us to think about that again. So thank you, Leslie. And so we have a motion on the table to amend the resolution. All in favor?
Hold on. Oh, so I'm so sorry. So what right now, the original motion is back on the table. So now you need a motion to amend if that's what we want to do.
We got it.
Okay, so you have that in a second?
Yes, we had that. We had the second motion seconded by Sabine. And so we are ready to approve the motion that we amend.
Should we state what the amendment is, just for the record? Just
The amendment is those 3 things I added. The explicit mention of the ADA added to the resolution, the requirement that if there is video conferencing used, that the meeting be recorded and the recording be posted to the website of the body. And then within the appendix that members of the body notify the chair at least 4 days in advance if there's an extraordinary circumstance and they need to join the meeting remotely. So those are the key differences.
Right, so your amended motion is to, so the new motion is you're voting on the updated resolution. And then, so that amendment has to be approved, and then you can discuss whether or not that resolution will carry, and then you vote on that.
Okay, so we approve the amendment and then we approve the resolution again. All right, do we have a motion to approve the amendment? Do we approve of the amendment? All in favor? Well, we don't need a motion. We already had a motion.
The motion's on the floor for the amendment,
All in
so you
favor?
just need to vote.
Aye, that was a vote. Then finally, we need a motion I'm blaming the Board of Trustees and the governor, just so you know, that this hassle, it's their fault. So then we need a motion to approve the amended resolution.
So the amended resolution is now what's on the floor.
Yes.
So now you can discuss it and then vote on it.
Anita has moved. We need a second. And Cindy is the second, and someone else is coming. Hello, come on in. Welcome. Tell me your name.
I'd like to social science.
Very good. Welcome. Glad you're here. Bye. Have to sit anywhere. So is there discussion of the amended resolution? All right, then hearing no discussion, all in favor, are you voting, Rebecca? You're not discussing, I expect.
I actually wanted to say one thing or ask one thing. I know that it is the terminology of CUNY Central or the CUNY Board of Trustees, and we can't change it, right? About extraordinary circumstances and notifying the chair of Senate. So we really just have to stick with this language and vote on it, and we have no choice about this language, right?
If we change the language, we're out of compliance with CUNY and the Board of Trustees. And the governor. And oh yeah, Patricia doesn't care about that, but she's not chair anymore, and I'm trying to be.
But why, no, seriously, if we're not in compliance, I mean, the Board of Trustees is one thing, there's so many things that we do that's not in compliance.
So here's the thing, the one change to our practice is going to be recording the meeting, which is, and then I have to handle the recording and get it into YouTube, that's kind of a tedious thing. But otherwise, we'll assume someone's going to have extraordinary circumstances, and extraordinary circumstances as described in the resolution are illness or caregiving or, so it's a pretty fluid category of extraordinary circumstances. So the word extraordinary sounds more extreme than it needs to be. The appendix says you need to notify the chair of Senate within 4 days, or at least 4 days or more before the Senate meeting if you have extraordinary circumstances. If you don't end up notifying me, I'm not going to tell or monitor, because I'm assuming that if this was an exception and we usually didn't have to have video conferencing on, then we would need to make sure the notification was in time to notify the public that video conferencing would be used. But because I assume that someone is always going to have some extraordinary circumstance, we'll just plan to have video conferencing available at every meeting. And it makes that 4-day window and the notification less crucial. It's helpful if you want to notify me that you're going to be online, just so we can try to monitor how likely we are to reach quorum or not. But it is less necessary if we assume, as I think is fair to assume, that we will have video conferencing every time. And thank you, Hugo, for asking for the transcription there too. So any other discussion? Rebecca or anyone else, any questions about that? Then we have the motion on the floor. So all in favor? And I think the motion carries. And now we can move on. All right. Thank you, everyone. And again, thank you for being here. Approval of the agenda. I can't remember how to do this, and I am making one change to the agenda, which is to move the chair's report before the elections, but I'd really like to not go through that careful process. We did enough careful Robert's rules already, so I'm not gonna move the chair's report a little bit just before the election.
So they just mute Leslie.
You want me to-
Christie Plan moves and fast. Remember this
So-
for the elections, folks. Look at her
All
go.
right, so, and do I need everyone to say they approve the agenda, Leslie?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all in favor? Aye. They have the agenda as slightly listed, okay. Approval of minutes, any changes to the draft minutes from the October 12th meeting? It is good, I appreciate if you all would read them and just make sure that what goes down in posterity, they stay on the Senate website and they go in the SharePoint forever. One thing I learned to watch for is just to make sure that if you're present, it says that you're present, you know, just because Jill, our still diligent secretary, is managing a lot of details and it matters to show that
Sweating.
you're present. So hearing no changes, the minutes are approved. Did I get that one right this time? Thank you. I'm looking for last US's face there. All right. The next item is the vote on the curriculum calendar, or the curriculum consent calendar. I wanted to, for any new senators, I want to point something out. Hold on. And I'm going to share the screen again. If you are a new senator and you saw that curriculum consent calendar, it's a little overwhelming if you opened up that zip file to look at. And so I want to point out one part of the consent calendar that I recommend all of you look at before you come to this meeting. The details about the courses and the articulation agreements and all these are complicated. But our still chair of the curriculum committee, Deborah Engel, is helping us out with this document. It's a Word document called the consent calendar, and it's an overview. So I strongly recommend you at least read that. Deborah's providing an overview of each item in the consent calendar with a short rationale. So helping you know why this change is being sought, what it's for, what's going on. It's the best place to look. It's where I always look first. So I just want to make sure you check that part out. It will make it easier, and it is part of that zip drive of documents that are the curriculum consent calendar. So we need a motion to, also for new senators, if you have concerns or questions about what is in the curriculum consent calendar, I and Deborah, the chair of the curriculum committee, need to hear them at least 24 hours before the Senate meeting. Earlier than that would be better. So it's a good idea to look at this ahead of time and let us know if there's any concerns or questions. Otherwise, if we hear none, we're just keeping the package together as a whole and bringing it forward for consideration. So we need a motion to approve the curriculum committee consent calendar items from October 13th.
So moved.
And Nana is moved second.
Second.
Anthony is second. All in favor? Oh, no, we forgot. We do the roll call for the curriculum, one by one, which puts it all on Jill.
The answer is yay or nay.
Yay or nay, not here. Right. And Leslie has posted in the Zoom chat, which you all in the room can't see, something helpful. She said consent calendar is actually consent agenda in Robert's Rules of Order. It's and that's probably an easier way to understand it. It's a way to vote on multiple items at once with no discussion in the current meeting. And aye or no is the word. And again, welcome, Gian, on Zoom. I'm glad you're here. I see that comment in the chat too. Okay. Are you ready, Jill?
I think so.
Jill is going to read the names of the voting members present. When you hear your name, it is aye if you support you want to approve the curriculum consent calendar, and nay or no if you don't.
Okay, Senator Buckley,
Aye.
Senator Bush,
Aye.
Senator Capuano-Bella, Senator Castro,
Aye.
thank you. Senator Correa,
Aye.
Senator Davis. Senator Restrepo.
Aye.
Senator DiCarlo. Senator Gordon Conyers. Senator Farage. I can't say your name either.
Hello, John.
I'm gonna have to work on your name for another year to get the last name.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
You know,
Senator
you
Uganda.
notice I'm not even trying with last names.
And she's my student too, and it took me a
Oh.
year to say her first name, so we're working on it. She's patient with me. Senator Hutanda. Thank you. Senator Johnson.
Aye.
You. Senator Coward. Senator Kehoe, aye. Senator Rivera. Senator Pappas.
Aye.
Senator Rivas.
Aye.
Senator Rose. Senator Skamaka.
Aye. And I can vote.
Oh, it's in my chair's report.
Ah,
We talked
okay.
about that.
Oh, sorry, Senator Rosenberg. I skipped over.
Aye.
Thank you. Senator Sokolsky. Aye. See? And Senator Bruns.
Aye. So the curriculum consent calendar is approved. Deborah, thank you very much for your diligent work. We get you for 2 more times, I think, and then before
Thank
she
you.
retires. All right, next on the agenda is what the executive committee of the Senate is calling the vacancy policy, which has not existed before, and let me explain. In the category of at-large senators, we have 2 alternates who are vacant. There's no alternates for the at-large senators. We've recognized because one of our at-large senators, Aneda, is retiring in December. Those seats are important, and because we will need an alternate to replace her in her role. So what we would like to request is approval from the Senate for a 1-year policy just for this year that would allow the executive committee of the Senate to appoint alternate at-large senators. And so that is the motion, because it's going to be important to fill those seats, or we'll end up with more Senate vacancies. And so we would like, the executive committee would like to ask you to consider approving a temporary policy that would allow the executive committee to appoint at-large senators to fill those vacant seats for the alternate position. So we need a motion and a second, and then we'll have discussion. Okay. So, right, Leslie? Good. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the vacancy policy as described.
All right. A second. Suma, a second. Discussion for or against? Or questions? Cindy? Yeah.
Just, in the governance plan, there are new senator positions.
Yes.
That are gonna be coming out, like, to include,
Yeah, there'll be, so the,
service.
with the governance plan revision, which we will first vote on at our next meeting, there is a change in the nature of the at-large Senate seats. And that is one of the reasons, but only one of the reasons, why we're asking for this policy to be temporary only for this Senate year. Because those positions will change if we approve that governance plan revision. So the governance plan, the revised governance plan wouldn't take effect until the next Senate year, even if we approve it.
What's the,
Loretta, and then John, and then Patricia.
My concern with this and my concern is how are the nominees potentially going to be identified? So I find with a policy that includes self-nominations throughout the college and then it's not based on the current something that is just safeguards, I think, to make sure that it's widely known.
That it's widely known. John, did you have something to?
I had a question of sort of in that vein. If it just, in my mind, it just makes sense with the executive committee might nominate, but then have some sort of discussion with the full Senate.
Have
about a
discussion with the full Senate.
with representatives.
So.
That's just a thought. I'm an alternate. I can be quiet too. You know, so.
Yeah,
I
one
was just thinking
response is that, so no, those seats should normally have been filled by a college-wide election, right? Where a call for nominees, people volunteer, and then there's a college-wide election. We did not get enough nominees to fill those seats
I
this
see.
year. So we're looking for an alternative way to fill those seats. Anthony, and then Patricia had something to say also.
Just to clarify, I mean, this is just for the at-large seats. I mean, right now in the governance plan, the current one, we do have a procedure for the student vacancies, which is to go to student government, and they're supposed to give us names. We didn't have anything else for the other at-large. We do have it in the new plan, but this is just for at-large. It's not for departmental or divisional seats. If you have a vacancy in your own area, you're gonna fill it your own way. So this is just for the at-large and just for the.
Yeah, and it's two at-large alternate seats that are vacant. Patricia.
Yeah, why it's the at-large, not necessarily the alternate.
It's-
Something you mentioned.
It's so the at-large seats are filled. There's at-large senators, but there are no alternate senators.
But when Anita has an alternate,
No, so that's the seat we want to fill.
but it's not an alternate. It's a regular seat.
But now it would be an alternate. She doesn't retire until December. So for a month or two, it would be an alternate. It's currently it's alternates. She hasn't retired yet.
I think to her point, though, I think the policy should be to fill at large, not alternates. I think it should just be
fill
for
at
at
large.
large, because that makes sense. Yeah, and it should just be for this year for any at large seats, whether it's a vacancy or an alternate, because either one is a vacancy. Should it specify alternates does seem a little.
Yeah.
weird. We should just say at large.
So we are filling two at-large seats, which currently are, or
Oh, we're
requesting,
creating a policy to fill it.
creating a policy to fill at-large seats. Yes, Patricia.
And another question, if we do that for the at-large seat, we have the same, I mean, for running the elections, we have the same issue with the adjunct Senate seat. So what do we do? If
So.
we agree that we're going to, we can appoint to fill a certain type of vacancies, then why this vacancy and not that?
Good point.
Fair question.
Adjuncts are considered at large too, so I would say we should probably add it in the, in the specific details, but that is an at large.
Because it would be great if we could find someone who would volunteer to be an adjunct senator.
If the concern is about quorum, it's about moving the business of the Senate, then there's no distinction as to whether we decide to appoint for two at large or we decide to appoint to fill the vacancies that are not departmental or divisional, that are, as Anson says, at large.
Department and divisional are different.
No, exactly,
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just
so
at large.
Just at large, if we include adjunct and the civil servant, I think we don't have an alternate right now too.
We don't have an alternate there.
We don't have one, so, right, but that alumni is not at large, that's what we got,
You're right.
everybody's got their own, but at large is adjunct, is civil service, is the at large seat, so all of those should be in this policy, yes.
Okay? Yes, Joe.
If we nominate two people to serve as at large, not the adjunct or civil service, then Anita's seat becomes open. Which one gets promoted?
I don't.
That sounds like a Thunderdome
Where's
situation to me.
Here's
Gladiator matches.
the thing.
But wouldn't you vote at that point?
Well,
Like,
Senate never
wouldn't you vote,
votes.
And whoever has the most votes becomes.
We're-
Or do it by seniority. I help.
No, yeah, well, and that's by seniority of role on Senate.
Seat on Senate, correct.
So,
Time on Senate.
oh, time on Senate. Well, if,
And I would say current term.
okay, so whoever was appointed first would
At
take
the
this.
at-large position.
Okay,
Voted by attendance.
true. So there might be ways. But it's a real need and we want a way to address it.
Leslie says we need to amend the motion.
Friendly amendments.
So the amendment, wait, do we need we have a motion. Now we need, do we
Right,
need
so
a
the motion on the floor is for
at-large
at-large alternates, and that's what we're discussing. So if someone wants to amend it to at-large, then they would need to amend the motion.
All right, and I need a motion to amend the motion.
Okay, I move to.
If that's what they want. I mean, you don't force
Patricia's
that. If that-
moving- Yeah, Patricia is moving to amend the motion
To include all at-large seats at the Senate.
and to take out the word alternate. So the motion now is to allow Senate or allow the executive committee to appoint at-large senators in vacant seats.
Second.
And Anthony seconded it. Patricia firsted it and Anthony seconded it. Now.
You would
this
vote on the
is-
amendment.
That word, English professor.
Thank you.
Close.
First did it.
So,
So you need to vote on the amendment then.
Why don't we do the option about a call for college-wide self-nomination?
So right now, there's a motion and a second on the floor, and that takes precedent over additional discussion. So we're voting on the amendment. If the amendment fails, it's back to the original motion, which is at-large alternates. And then, I mean, you can keep amending.
But
yes,
if Patricia wants to add it to her motion, she can, right? Which she made the amendment, she wants
She
to
made
add it. You want it?
you don't, or you,
Can I just address Loretta's
the,
comment?
yeah, so in the discussion of the amended motion, there's been the suggestion again of including a college-wide call. And which is, so this is part of the discussion of the amendment. Go ahead.
Loretta, I agree on the principle of democracy. In practice, we've seen what the at-large call has done. Nothing. We had 2 candidates for the entire at-large for the elections. So this call for self-nomination, how long is it going to take? If the purpose is to get the Senate moving with its agenda, it's business, and it's a policy just for a year, let's just get it done.
Cindy.
I think that,
So we have to vote on the amendment because that's on the floor, and then we can have discussion. I'm so sorry. I'm going crazy over here.
Can we be discussing the amendment? No, we have to vote on the amendment and then,
So if you call, yes, you can discuss the amendment. So just changing at-large alternates to at-large.
at-large alternates to at-large.
So we're discussing the
Yeah,
amendment.
we're discussing an additional amendment here. So all in favor of amending the motion to, we are to allow executive committee to appoint at-large senators.
Can we withdraw the motion so we can discuss and not have to do like 2 motions and 2 amendments?
I don't, because then we can't discuss anything officially. So let's,
Discussing the original amendment, the original motion, you don't do.
if we we'll withdraw the amendment, we'll discuss the original motion, we'll consider a later amendment. Fine, thank you. I will, whatever, sorry, Leslie. I know. All right, Cindy, your comment about the original motion.
even as a senator, I was so busy and frantic, like when those emails came out about the at-large election, that I missed it. So if I missed it, other people should. So I think it may be that we need, one more announcement about it.
So, sounds like we need some more people on the elections committee to look into that problem and see how to solve that, address that problem. Loretta?
A question. Is this the term of this people who are coming in currently too? Is it for this term year only? So it's a 1 term?
Yeah.
That's not specified. So
No,
the
they
college-
didn't. Wait,
no, you only want to be able to fill them this year, which
Yes.
means any vacancies this year, but that doesn't mean that the person who you selected expires this year. So that's my question. Does their term of office expire this year?
We did not discuss that. And, but I assume,
There was,
I probably shouldn't be saying it.
yeah,
But there was a mention that there would be new elections coming up the new year. This is why you were doing it only for this year.
no, it's the way, the definition of the at-large seats will change
Just like, because they alternate.
with the
Just like
governance
Anita's
plan.
term. Like, did you just get reelected?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
so
serving my
she-
second
Yeah,
year
so
of
she's
a
got one, yeah,
2-year
so
term.
everybody has different lengths, you know, because they were staggered,
you're right,
so.
you're right.
She's
you're
right.
right.
Yeah,
And then again, just to, goes back to my idea about equal access and knowledge. So if we just want to do it this year so we can conduct business, I just want that as part of the policy. If you don't want to include self-nominations, my only concern is that we become so insular that we know who's better. We are not an insular body, we are a college-wide body, that's why I advocate for continuation of at-large positions. And I think we need to be careful when we start making these exceptions, that we put in as many safeguards as we can to ensure true democratic process.
okay.
I completely agree with Loretta, if we can put it from, now to until September of 2023, if we want a date to say this is an exceptional measure from this term to until the next Senate elections, then that's it. And then
Right,
it's
which
not-
is always a part of the original policy, the original motion is that just for this Senate year, executive committee be allowed to appoint at-large senators to fill vacancies. So,
So
and
let's phrase it for the 2023
Senate year. Right. So the motion on the table, well, the motion on the table is still, because we got rid of the amendment, is to allow executive committee to appoint candidates to fill at-large alternate vacancies.
So we want to amend that now.
But, and do we want to amend it to include the college-wide call and at-large seats?
And a termination date.
Well, if for the current Senate year conveys that termination date.
So wouldn't that be procedural though, in how the executive committee fills? Because the motion is to allow the executive committee, and if there's a process, the procedure isn't, I mean, wouldn't that just be a procedural comment with how they do it?
That makes sense to me.
I also have a question for
Yeah.
clarification to Leslie. If, does that, what Chrissy just said, does this, saying for this year, solve the issue if we're filling a vacancy of someone who's supposed to be serving for 2 years right now, then technically they would serve for 2 years unless we say what Loretta's saying, say for that 1 year, because.
Yeah.
Right, wouldn't, so I think we do need to add in that 1 year thing. I don't think.
Why?
we're-
We don't want to fill
Because
appoint someone for longer than
Because
that?
we're giving ourselves, the way I understand it, we're giving ourselves the power to fill that vacancy for this year. But if that vacancy is a 2-year term, then they
It's only
have a
that way.
2-year term,
Okay.
and that's what Loretta is trying to avoid.
Sounds good?
For the
So we
year,
do
not
need to
for the
clarify.
term. It's not for
For
the
the
Senate
year.
term, it's for the year, for the
So-
Senate year, the 2022-2023 Senate year. And so if somebody is appointed and that person is interested, they'll run for this next
The
year.
following year. Okay. So I need a motion to amend the motion that the executive committee be allowed for the 22-23 Senate year to appoint candidates to fill at-large vacancies for the 1-year term. Do I have a motion saying that? A second?
Second.
Any more discussion of the amended motion? All in favor, wait, and Leslie, can we just vote on the motion now as amended, or do we need to vote on the amendment?
Now
and
that the
then vote?
motion has been amended, you have to approve the amendment.
Okay,
So if you like that
And then-
wording, then that becomes the new motion on the floor. And then you vote on that. So there may not be any more discussion, but so right now you need a 2/3 vote to pass the amended word, those amended words, amended
Alright.
words.
All right, all in favor of the amended, well, the amendment to the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the amendment stands. Is there any discussion of the amended motion? Or the
Which is
motion-
now the motion on the floor.
the motion on the floor?
We discussed it.
All right. So all in favor of the motion as amended, that will allow the executive committee for the 22-23 Senate year to appoint at-large senators for a one-year term.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Now I'm gonna mess it up even more, just briefly.
Nobody is gonna run for secretary.
Nobody has ever, she said to write it all down.
We're making you both work. We're making you both work. That's it.
There's not even a fruit basket involved?
You get the whole, you put the work in it.
All right. A candidate has already come to the attention of the executive committee for the vacancy. The executive committee current, who will be voted, who will change by the end of the meeting today, has already discussed the candidate. I'm going to explain, and it is going against what Loretta has asked, but we do have another vacancy, and I don't know if we need a vote on this because we just gave the executive committee the capacity, but let me explain. There was a confusion about the Senate candidacy for the Division on Student Affairs. And the senator who assumed she would be reelected was not, because she was on vacation, didn't put her name forward. That is Charis Victory, who lost her Senate seat, but has fully planned on continuing to chair the Committee on Committees, which is a crucial role for the Senate to staff, to see that the other committees are staffed. So the governance plan requires that all members of the Committee on Committees be members of the Senate. And so Charis will not be able to continue as chair of the Committee on Committees because the confusion in her department, actually, I believe it was her division had missed her email saying she wanted to run. So no fault on anyone for that confusion, and then she was out of town during that time. So the executive committee would like to name Charis Victory to one of those seats. We need to fill the seat. We also would really like for her to be able to continue to serve as the chair of the Committee on Committees. She's already begun that work in the summer, anticipating serving in this next year. I'm going to step outside of, I don't know where this fits in parliamentary process. Do you have discussion of that? Intention of the executive committee?
So we just voted the executive committee authority to appoint. So the executive committee can vote on that. Within the bounds of this meeting, it's probably not appropriate because we have an executive committee meeting. So I understand the sense of urgency and you want this executive committee to vote on it, but it probably makes more sense to keep it in that meeting.
Postpone that. Okay, so then the executive committee will take that up next week, which complicate we meet on the executive committee, assuming I am elected chair again, meets on Monday. And so what this does, we have on the agenda today to elect the members of the Committee on Committees. If we proceed with that election, Charis will lose her spot on that committee in her role as chairing the committee. We can postpone that election to our next meeting, which would be the alternative. Any thoughts on that from anyone? Yes, Loretta?
Can we as a body, as parliamentarian, can we as a body suspend that requirement from the governance plan? Can we move as a body to suspend it, that we allow a non-Senate member, a non-elected member of the Senate, because in my opinion, every member of the college actually is a member of the Senate, they're just not elected representatives of the Senate, to serve on the committee on committees.
Is it possible to amend that governance plan?
To suspend that requirement.
Move it. Make a motion, girl. Go for it.
Motion to suspend the requirement that the Committee on Committee membership is limited to elected members of the Senate.
For how long?
For 1 year, for this
For this
academic
Senate year. So the motion, do we have a second to that motion? Then I'll be second. And Ada seconds it. So the motion is, Jill, to remove the requirement in the governance plan that the members of the Committee on Committees be elected from membership of the Senate for this Senate year.
Before we say that, is it the members of the committee on the committees, or it only applies to chair?
It applies to the members, it applies to every, so then the Committee on the Committees, all members are elected from the Senate. And then the committee itself elects its own chair. So who the chair is according to the governance plan, who the chair of the committee is up to the committee. Anthony,
I disagree. I mean, I think we should just wait till next month. I think we should put off the, my opinion is put off the committee on committee elections until next month. Like you said, the executive committee can now fill the vacancy in between. I think we should just do that, rather than suspend rules and start letting everybody else be, for this meeting, just for 1 month. That's my opinion.
this is discussion of the motion, Loretta.
This is the only committee that is limited to membership of elected members. Everyone else, every other committee in the Senate is open to non-elected citizens.
Except the committee, faculty committee, students, and.
No. The committee of faculty, we allowed members of COSA who were not senators to participate. So we could have non-elected members on other committees.
And
This is the only committee that is restricted to elected members only.
let's take it up with the
Senators.
governance plan, since we're revising the governance plan, that's added to the governance plan. I agree
We
with
can do
Anthony
that
on
moving
one.
forward going on, but I'm talking about if we just suspend this requirement, it is the only restriction of committee membership at the government. Okay, aside from the executive committee, I apologize, so
Right.
second committee, that's different.
Right.
I think it's not reasonable. It was hard for Charis to get this many members to sit on the committee. So let's be honest. What works for the Senate? And that's the reason for my suggestion. If people don't want to second it, don't want to prove it, it's okay.
And I have to agree with
Yeah.
Loretta. I mean, I wasn't going to be able to serve on that committee either, so you were losing 2 members in addition to that because I'm no longer a senator. So I would not be able to serve on that committee, but with this policy, if it is suspended, then I can't be a part of the committees. And it is a really difficult committee to kind of keep growing. I mean,
Yeah.
you remember from years back.
Right, there was one guy.
One.
Leslie and then Erica.
Thank you. I speak against the motion because I have an issue with us creating rules with one specific situation in mind. And we happen to really like our chair of committee on committees, but what if we didn't? And would we be having the same discussion? So we need to stay fair and unbiased when we're making these considerations and changes to our governance plan. So I would speak against it.
And Erica. And then Anthony.
Hearing how difficult it has been for the Committee on Committees to fill vacancies or positions on committees, it leads me to wonder or ask the question, are all senators sitting and serving on a committee?
That is a good question.
Yeah. And to
My
put
thought,
everything-
I'd like
Go
to
ahead,
finish
yeah.
my thought. If not, I really think it's important and would like to recommend or suggest that all senators be required to serve at least on one committee. As someone who serves on 3 Senate committees, I don't, and not knowing who serves on which committees, I think it's only fair, since we have come forth to serve in this capacity, that everyone at least commits to one committee so that the work of our governance is done.
sounds like a great idea. I don't know if we were ready to make it policy, but I think it's something that we could emphasize for senators going forward. Anthony and then Patricia.
I also, I mean, I'm gonna speak against it again. I mean, it's just, if we want to change it in the governance plan, we can. Loretta, myself, Patricia, Leslie, we've been on this. This is the first time this is really coming up about getting, making it open to everyone. We never really discussed that before. This is something this is the one committee that is open only to senators. I think we should just leave it that way. If we want to make those changes, make it in the governance plan. As far as Erica's comment, we all do serve on one committee by constituency automatically. So if you really want to get to what your whole point, we'd have to serve on two committees if we really wanted to get everybody involved in at least two committees, because we're all automatically on one committee by default. But that's really not pertinent to the discussion anyway.
Yes, and Eric, I see your comment in the chat that you were not making a motion. It was a comment for exploration, which I think is a good one to consider. Yes, Patricia?
When we, I'll speak against the motion, when we were working on the revision of the governance plan, Leslie did ask all the committees to check their memberships, the requirements for the memberships, the role of the members, and how the committees is done. So constituted, thank you. So then that was the time for the committee of committees to check, and committee on committee, and check, do we like the way our committee is working? We went through it in the budget committee. We kind of went back and forth. How many people? What do we do? How do we do it? So those discussions were meant to have happened during that time. To change a policy just like that, it's like we already changed one thing about allowing the Senate. What else do we want to change? Let's go for it.
Right, right. Loretta, you're speaking against. You're going to speak for it.
I'm going to speak for it with the logic being that when we were having these conversations regarding the revisions, there was no mention of the fact that we could actually change who could serve on that committee. So there was no, because I'm a member of that committee, and I've been a member of that committee off and on for several years. But the other issue is that when we were having a conversation, we didn't discuss that the executive committee could fulfill vacancies. These meetings are for conversation and for us to, as Erica said, for exploration. Where do we need help? And I want to take it away from Charis. It has nothing to do with Charis. It has to do with why is the committee on committees only limited to senators? Do we really need it to be? And I don't think we do. Because there was a time when it was a one-person show, and it was for several years. It was two different guys. It wasn't just one person that was one by themselves. And it was, if there were other people who were willing to assist, we couldn't branch out to them because no one on the Senate took up the mantle. Isn't it going to make sure that our business is concluded? The committee on committees is to make sure that the committees are served, are full. We appoint non-members. You can have other people go on to sit on committees that are not elected members of the Senate. Excuse me. So that's my.
So there is a motion on the floor with a second and discussion, arguments for and against for 1 year. Okay. For this year to allow the committee on committees to be staffed with non-senators. I think we may be, can I bring it to a vote? So, and this may not be, I mean, the other ones have been unanimous vote. I expect you have differences of opinion. So, Leslie, how do I handle this vote? All in favor, and then we count? Or
Well, so they're always a voice vote. If a member of the body doesn't think that the voice vote was clear, they would call division. They don't need to be called on. Someone just say division. And that would be a request to have a more specific form of voting. So if the voice vote is obvious and no one calls division, then that would be the vote. But anyone has, and members, you always have that option, because if we do a voice vote and you really want to hear more individuals, then you would call division.
So we can do a voice vote and after that decide to call division, or do we have to call division first?
It doesn't matter. I mean, the voice vote, I mean, that's the vote. And so you'd have to have the result there, but
Okay.
If someone, that's just the easiest way. Do the vote, and then if someone wishes to call division, then that would be appropriate.
All right, so, yes, Cindy. Yes.
If, is it possible to, will we get a chance later when we're voting on the governance plan to change this thing?
So we could send it to the governance plan. If it's voted down today, I could ask the governance plan revision committee to take it up in their meeting. Is that correct? I'm looking at Leslie. I really can't tell where I'm looking.
So yes, that's obviously appropriate. Given the timing though, it may be something to put on our list of continuing updates. But again, that's something we can discuss later. It's really not to this motion.
Could be sent forward. So, and the other thing I'll say is if we do not decide to today change the governance plans or open up the governance plans restriction on the membership of the committee on committees, we can in fact postpone the vote till next meeting, after which time the executive committee would have chance to discuss the potential of the candidate who has already come forward as Chair's Victories to serve in that role. So, and we could name her next meeting before having the committee on committees vote. So there is an alternative. And maybe not a bad idea because we've already taken so much time talking about this that it would not be bad to postpone the committee on committee vote until the next meeting. So, so the motion on the floor is, do we open for 1 year, make exception to the governance plan restriction on the committee, the committee on committees only consists of members of the Senate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You have to count. Put hands up so we can count, so.
Let's put hands up.
So then we don't have to
All in
call.
favor? We have a couple, all opposed. So the opposition carries. Would anyone like to call decision and answer? It looks pretty obvious that the motion did not succeed. I think that's the right word. All right. Thank you for taking us through that. That was, and I would ask that the makeup of the committee on committees be examined at a future governance plan revision meeting, not probably for this current revision, but I know there's going to be ongoing look at the governance plan. And I think it is a good question to take up. Okay. It's you thought that was easy. It's time for executive committee elections. After much deliberation or a little deliberation, we are resorting to paper ballots for those in the room who are able to vote on members of the executive committee, and Zoom poll for those not in the room who are voting members of the Senate. So the first election is for chair, correct? I am open to putting my name forward again. Yes, Sabine. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. After today's meeting, hello, anybody? And I have already made some polls. So, Anita, would you?
Yes.
And then before you retire in December, would you make sure other people in the room know how to do that?
Yes.
We need a second. We need a second.
Oh, do we need
Technically, we need a second.
do we need a second for the?
No, you just have to accept.
Yeah, you have to see if there are other candidates. You should.
Right, if there's only one candidate, we can do it by acclamation.
Well, you do,
Yeah,
you need,
yeah, but
you
we
need
don't
to
know
ask if there's other candidates.
Are there other candidates?
Before ballots are given out.
We might have, listen, I'm gonna give out the ballots.
You
Alright.
can't do acclamation in this case because our governance plan says we need secret ballots. And the secret ballot allows for write-in candidates.
Oh, you're all gonna be able to see this. So,
How do you turn off the?
I know, I need to turn off the,
Christie, you should ask for other nominations, though. We have.
yes, I agree. Are there any other nominations?
Move to close nominations.
Thank you. Second, Cindy, nominations are closed. In just a minute. We are gonna have to turn off. Are you all, I think if I, well, you won't be able to see those that are joining us from home for a while.
Have it fun.
So I can at least sign it. And this is for the chair.
That's right.
You start at 0 or 1?
No, you have
One,
one.
all right. That's living in America.
So those of you joining us from home, you should now see a poll with one candidate. And I turned the camera off, the projector's off, so no one can see what's going on.
Just, this should be ballot number one.
This is the
Ballot
ballot
number
number
one.
one. But why? If we can, it's only one nomination. It's only one candidate. Why can't we do it by acclamation?
Because
The
it's
governance
private.
plan says so.
Secret.
That's what Leslie just said, Anita. So the governance plan allows for write-in candidates, so it has to be secret ballot. It has to
Yes.
be
Okay, so ballot number one, position is chair.
I suggest you print your name, so it says signature.
I didn't get a ballot.
I can't vote,
Make
so.
sure that senator votes.
Okay, let's set our votes. Yes, Cindy's helping pick out what Anthony, you can help with this.
And you can't vote.
Anybody else on the ballot?
Come on, what are you? No, I don't have a ballot.
Hey, we're shopping that put it in, you know what?
Guys, see, hold your ballots in hand. So technically, I shouldn't be seeing them. Okay, but hold in hand for the future, especially as we have more contested ones.
I'm unfolding.
Oh, but that's-
Not looking at it. Does anybody still have a ballot that they voted on?
How many voters are in there?
Yes.
I should know. I thought I was gonna get that.
I was doing it like this. That's what, well, that's, I was 10 minutes away when I got the text message.
Oh, that's
She was here for her daughter was here. Yeah. She was step out.
All right, as all of our friends at home, if you are eligible to vote, have you voted?
Yes.
That's including Christie, right? I'm trying to figure out how many ballots we should have.
No write-in ballot.
We have 24. It's 24 voters. It's 24 now. Yeah, but when you have ballots, you have to, if we hand out, we have to hand out 24 ballots, we should be getting back 24, they can be abstained, we should have 24 ballots. This is the way we've always done this. No, well, she just said the attendance. The attendance one, we should have 24 eligible voters.
No, but they can, oh, in the room. Unless they're, if they're second.
Christie,
That's
can
why I
you,
voted.
you can't see who voted?
Yeah, I can't see who, but I can see how many.
Oh, my gosh.
You have the ones online?
Hold on. 5, 6, 7,
Believe me, if Rochelle was on Zoom, I'd be in Court Square, watching the dog. Well, we got a plug here. I don't know if we would use it.
17.
Is it power? And just because it's plugged in doesn't mean there's power.
Which makes sense, because nothing we barely had.
Right, so.
Yeah, this one. All right. I got it. I realized I understand it's a session, so I think it's just. They're just, hanging on by the
Great. And we have six people voted on the floor.
Oh, Suzanne. 6. All right, you're good with 6.
Good with 6?
Good
Great.
with 6. 6 online, 18 in person.
So,
It is.
so
18.
All right, it was unanimous. All right, next, are we ready? Ladies? And you all at home, we can no longer see you on the screen, so I'm gonna be looking here. Thank you for voting. Yes, was. There were no other candidates. The next vote is for vice chair.
Did we have the result?
It was unanimous that I am reelected. All right. Thank you for this vote of confidence. Next, vice chair. Nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Leslie Stamako.
Leslie Skamaka has been nominated.
I accept.
And accepts. Other nominations for vice chair. Hearing none, nominations are closed. Just a minute, I have to get back into my poll. So the candidate for vice chair is Leslie Skamaka.
And we're gonna count this as ballot 2, correct?
This is ballot 2.
It's still ballot 1 because it's a new position.
Ballot 1, everybody, ballot 1.
Ballot 1 is a new position.
Okay.
No, I didn't know the answer. I just listened to it.
Glad I have.
Yeah, sorry, so I'm an alternate.
I'm not the parliamentarian. I'm good at parliamentary. I'm not the parliamentarian.
said this was a new position? It's in the new,
It means
governance
it's a
plan, correct?
position, so it's.
No, it's,
yeah.
I'm sorry, not a new position, Erica, but just a new vote, a new position to vote on. So it's always ballot 1, but if we have to have another vote for that position, it's ballot 2 and 3 and so forth. So the ballots are rounds of voting as opposed to, but the vice chair is an existing.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Large slate of those candidates might make sense.
Everybody ready for the ballots? All right, the vote is open and the, yeah. That's how I go.
Don't worry about it. She's gonna let ballots, please. I promise.
Has everyone voted online? Oh, yes, Eric, I have a question. Or Eric, I see your hand.
Anybody else? Ballots?
What's the vote on? Who's checking?
I am. Erica, do you have your hand up?
She's running and she's checking her own vote.
Sorry about that. Just answered my question, thank you.
You guys are thinking about every little thing, and the candidate running for chair is the one checking the votes online.
Yeah.
Anybody else know how to use their equipment?
I'm just saying.
We could use, you know, the UFS has Happy Cotter, the guy.
I know, but yeah, that's what I'm
All right, no, I got it. I'm good.
We have 18 votes, in-person votes for Leslie.
And 18 in-person votes for Leslie, 6 online votes for Leslie. Bravo. And next poll, every poll I'm having to, it's taking me a moment. So, oh, the next election is for secretary. We tried to find somebody that would be secretary.
Hey, Jill.
I'd like to nominate Jill Kehoe as secretary of the Senate.
Two thumbs up.
I second that nomination.
Any-
And she has a gold star to go with it.
Yes.
That's all I needed.
Any other candidates?
Secretary.
I
For
think
secretary.
you guys should put a fund together to get Jill a fruit basket though.
Jill, I have a whole fruit basket at home that no one's touched. I'll bring it for you.
Yeah.
Let's just go with liquor.
Yeah, there you go.
They make everything better.
If you did drink, what would you drink?
If I did. Cyanide, I don't know.
Did anybody not get a ballot? Everybody got one.
And the election is now launched for secretary with one candidate.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean,
Do a write-in ballot?
Let's do your head.
When it's like this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you all for being here. One more. We're voting for secretary. Are we? Cindy? And we have 6 votes completed on the online poll. Thank you all for your patience. Counting is underway.
We have 18 votes for Jill Kehoe.
And 6
In-person
votes online for Jill Kehoe. Jill! Yeah.
Somebody think about it for next year.
Yeah, please do. Next, executive committee. nominees, so we need 2 at-large candidates for the executive committee from among senators, or yes.
I
Patricia?
nominate Anthony Papa.
Anthony Pappas. Second nomination, Anita,
Douglas.
Douglas.
No, I thought I was seconding the first.
Yeah, all right. So any other additional candidates? Anthony Pappas, Douglas DiCarlo, any additional candidates for executive committee?
Do they accept?
Oh, do you accept?
I accept.
Okay. Douglas, okay. So these are our candidates and you vote for 2.
And the position is at large, right?
At large executive committee. And I am about to
This
launch.
is number 1. You're allowed to go forward.
What are the names again?
Anthony, just put Anthony and Douglas. Anthony Pappas and Douglas DeCarlo.
I was gonna say, if it was an Anthony Douglas. I could get
Not
confused.
an Anthony Douglas, unfortunately, there's not.
No, you can.
Okay, hold on.
Jamie, are you?
I'm loving this.
Jamie, you've got to keep coming to Senate. You got to get you off the alternate seat. Anybody that likes this?
Actually, this.
Just wait till we start drawing you to join us.
Yeah, I'm in a couple. I'm actually, yeah.
Just wait.
Jamie? It's great. There's vacancies. Yeah. What's her name?
Rochelle.
You missed that part of the
Yeah.
meeting where yeah, put your name up and more. So there's 5 votes online. Is there a 6th person that was voting who will vote for executive committee? I don't want to close this before it's completed.
I mean,
Is it?
Christine, you say you're interested.
Yeah, send me an email.
And then if they take you, and they- or they'll be all right to ask them.
Everybody vote? Did everybody
Sorry, I
vote?
missed the last part.
Any more votes?
We're short one down.
We're short one down.
Did everybody vote?
Yeah.
Then we need to elect another.
Find an alternate.
We take it on.
Okay.
Yes,
We took everybody?
yes. Okay, everybody's voted.
okay.
Okay,
So both get it, but.
yes, 18 votes for Anthony, 17 votes for Douglas. Online, it was 6 and 5. So both are elected. Congratulations. Thank you very much for serving again on the executive committee. And just a minute. I'm gonna make a note here. And then then the last part of the executive committee is the students who serve on the executive committee, and there are seats for 2. There's 1 student in the room. We don't know what happened to most of the students. And I'm sad to say,
I'll be here
you'll.
The big question is, are you interested?
Gian is online.
I will.
So members of the executive committee, Anthony and Douglas have served already, they know. Getyana and Gian, I know that Susan was also planning to come today, had an exam, was going to be online, and I don't think that he has joined us, as best I can tell here. So for those students, let me tell you what the job involves. It is, sorry, I'm checking to see if Susan is on. Gian, are you still online? And you can type in the chat. Oh yeah, I see you there. Type in the chat if you're still with us, and because I'm gonna be talking to you and to get Yana. I haven't seen Gian type in the chat. Why wouldn't you want to sit and stare at a computer while all this happens, right? So executive committee plans the Senate meeting. It's an additional meeting for every Senate meeting. We usually meet the Monday afternoon from 3:30 to 5. It's been traditional. The Monday that is like 9 days before the Senate meeting. So our next meeting is this coming Monday because our following meeting is coming up. So we would like to nominate you, Yana, for this role. Is if that meeting time doesn't work for you,
I work at the president's office, so I can ask.
you're gonna, I am already working on the president for you gotta support Senate. So that is extra clout. So are you willing to be nominated for the executive committee?
Sure.
Thank you.
Great.
So then let me set up the poll, and I am not hearing, I'm not seeing anything from Gian, and I'm not going to nominate someone who may not be still, I think he's still there, he may have stepped away. Currently then, we have only one student for the executive committee. And I have not. Yana, what's your last name?
Gurraj.
Gurraj. Okay. So the nominee is, if I had, right, I'm not gonna write it. Can you all manage, get Yana? GG works, we need ballots again.
Wait, so
Yep. The last vote that we're taking today, because even without our complication, we're postponing the committee on committees vote because it's already 4 o'clock.
okay, we're still gonna have to fill the other position, right?
Yeah.
How do we spell this? I'm sorry.
GG will work.
Professors who can't pronounce their own students' names.
I thought that was part of the.
I did it today. Really, was kind of.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you.
Sincerely. I tried, and you know what, it's now not even a linguistic block, it's just a mental thing. I just look at her and I just crumble and I'm so sorry. Can't do it.
It's okay.
We are voting on the
GG.
single student candidate for executive committee.
Our student, yeah, we're still gonna have to fill the other one, I believe.
Yeah,
Leslie's in the chat.
She said GG, just to finish.
Sorry, Robert commands me.
Oh my
need a motion to
goodness.
postpone. Okay, got it. Leslie, thank you. And then we'll finally be through this. Oh, I was gonna do my chair's report before this. He re-elected me, so I can still give the chair's report, all that.
I have a question.
Anybody else outstanding ballot?
I think we may have lost a senator online.
For Anthony Douglas, was there 5 or 6 in the last one?
So there were 6.
Online.
And they're coming. Well, it's not suspenseful.
In-person votes for Gigi.
18 in-person votes for Gigi, 5 online votes for Gigi. Yana has been elected.
Congratulations.
Senator on the executive board. Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm gonna see if I can, so we now need a motion that will allow us, I'm gonna try to turn the projector back on again. We'll see if I can do this. that will allow us a motion to postpone until the next meeting, the election for the Committee on Committees. Would someone,
So moved.
and a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the, we can't turn the projector back on because it's still cooling down.
Technology.
I was, so we can't see them. So that has been, well, moving that election to the next time. We are almost ready for committee reports. I'm gonna fly through some things in my chair's report that I want to tell you. I trust you all can still see me, I think, though we can no longer see you. As Leslie already mentioned, maybe it's gonna come back. Or this is it, I think this is it cooling down. I'll try again. There they are. All right, great. As Leslie already mentioned, last meeting, she had said, according to Robert's rules, the parliamentarian cannot vote if the parliamentarian is also a member of the body. Our governance plan specifies that if the parliamentarian is a senator, they have all the rights of a senator, and it overrides Robert's rules in this case. So we have now are going to, and the executive committee, now former one, which is actually the same as the current one, except with the addition of Kenyatta, would like to see that continue. You may have heard, those of you who know, that there are discussions underway about web attendance. So for you student faculty may not, faculty deal with it every day when we teach a class, have a digital method of keeping attendance. There's discussion about removing that. It's an in-house product. It's costly to maintain. And so the question has come from the administration about the cost of maintaining some of these individualized IT products. Questions also come from faculty that are annoyed by having to do it, and a fairly low percentage of faculty that do it anyway. So, but I want to bring it up to the Senate so you know it exists because the college handbook has an attendance policy that requires attendance keeping. So I have made sure that the administration knows that the question has to come to the academic standing committee first. Do we want to remove that from our college handbook? We no longer require that attendance keeping as a college overall. It is not a CUNY policy. So it will be considered by the academic standing committee. I know that at their next meeting in 2 weeks or 3, the Dean Dion Miller and the Provost Billy Gastric Rosado are going to attend and discuss it, and more input will be gained from all members of the college about the question before a decision is made. Yes, Loretta?
I just want to stress that attendance or non-attendance in classes is often the basis for students to appeal, to file an academic appeal. If that record is no longer taken, there will be no way that we can use that information to assist the students who are claiming an extraordinary situation.
Yes, and that is
So,
an
yes.
issue that's being considered. Apparently, the faculty response rate has been about, well, I don't know, I've heard different numbers, less than 50% of faculty even do it. But that's going to be something we'll consider, or that I won't consider. Academic standing will consider that. So either web attendance would need to be replaced by something else, or the academic standing would decide to remove it. There is Anita, do you know this man at the door? Does he need to set something up?
Oh, yes. Wants to pick up this.
Oh, he wants to pick it. I haven't even had a cookie.
No, that's
But
from
yeah.
the dime.
Yes.
He's setting up for another- the next event.
He's setting up probably for I think the president's.
So if you want, he can definitely come in and set up in the back. That would be fine. Yeah, Tricia?
Yeah, I think we can dissociate the web attendance as a software we use and the practice of taking attendance. I think one way or another, we'll probably continue to take attendance because of academic standing. and
You don't know that. So that's what they're going to think about. And that is also a possibility.
Yeah, and,
Right.
and probably, but the attendance, the web attendance as we have it, that kind of software, maybe make it seamless.
Yeah, and that is possible. In related to that, and if you want a cookie, grab a cookie because he's gonna set up other
No, he's
stuff.
not gonna take it away.
Oh.
He's just gonna put more food. Don't grab the other food.
The other food is not
The
good.
other food is not out.
All right.
These are out.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So-
but-
Oh,
The other food is not out.
Rebecca and then Lilla. Lilla is the chair of the standing committee, but Rebecca, go ahead.
I just have a question. We were told long ago that we had to take attendance for legal reasons, for if something happened on campus and someone either, or if there's a crime committed or something and we could prove the student was in our class and not somewhere else or something like this. I don't remember all the details. Is that still true?
I'm going to request, because of the hour, that we postpone that discussion for after Academic Standing Committee has thought about this, and they're going to wrestle with it. Then it'll come to Senate. We can have more discussion then. Lilla, because you're the chair of Academic Standing, go ahead.
I just wanted to make the same request. I would like the Senate not to consider this matter until Academic Standing has made the appropriate, investigation, has looked into the college community's view on this subject, and then the Academic Standing Committee is also going to work with the dean and the provost. And based on all of our, thorough work, we will make a recommendation that will have a rationale to it, and then the Senate can take this up.
Thank you, Lilla. The reason that I brought it up to you today is if you hear talk, this is the process. The process is there may be a change to the software, but we're also considering a change to policy and it has to go through the proper channels first. In that regard, slightly related there, a search committee is currently being formed for a chief information officer. This would be a person who would sort of replace VP Henry Saltiel, but it is no longer a VP position. And so the IT will no longer be its own division, but will be under the division of administration. So that search will be underway in a few months, I expect. But it is for an executive director, associate dean level position rather than a VP position. That's a fairly significant change in how things work, with ultimately some possible implications that the executive committee and the governance plan team will look at for Senate, since the IT will no longer be its own division. The search for the vice president of enrollment management, this week they anticipate getting CUNY approval for the job description and the job posting. Within the next week, the job posting should come. There is, Charis Victory is our Senate representative on that committee. She was still a senator then when the committee was being formed. The committee of the search for VP for enrollment. Did I ask you to do that? Then
I'm not in that division.
I checked today, and you're probably right. I checked with Nayeli. Charis, you're on the Fairs Search Committee, right? Okay, so then I am not sure who I asked Nayeli today, and she sent me Charis's name. But
Yeah,
that's
Christy, can you check? Because I got 2 different emails. So
Yes.
And I got one from the president.
you, and when, recently?
We got
Great, all right. There was, good, all right. Loretta is our representative on the committee, the search committee for the VP of enrollment. So there's searches for the VP of enrollment and a search for the VP of student affairs. What we learned at cabinet is that they're prioritizing enrollment first. And so the VP of student affairs is going to take some more time. It's not going to start right away. And Charis, I'll try to clarify things for you. Because the enrollment need is so dire at the college. That's it. And time is limited, so they're prioritizing that search first. That's what I'm letting you know now. On Monday of next week, which is very soon, you may have heard or seen an email that Wendy Hensel, who is the executive vice chancellor and provost for the CUNY system, is making a visit to LaGuardia. And she is booking herself a full schedule. The events that are happening that day, including she wants to have lunch with students. So, and Yana is hopefully going to join on behalf of Senate as a student senator. In addition, she wants to have a town hall with time for questions from anyone. I want to encourage as many of you as can to attend. Part of the concern is she wants to have a town hall. We don't want it to be empty, right? We need people to show up. The town hall is this coming Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. in C103. So if you're able to make it, please do. It's a chance to meet and interact with and hear from the provost for the CUNY system. And that is the end of, one more thing. Again, at the last cabinet meeting on Monday, I made even clearer, more articulate, the importance, I wanted the VPs to hear the importance of Senate. They believe Senate's important, but it needs to filter down so that the manager levels are acknowledging the role of Senate as a contribution to the college for staff as well as for faculty. So I'm continuing to try to emphasize that it needs to actually be considered in employee evaluations and to count as something important for the college, not an add-on to the job. So I'm working on making sure that message is heard. That is the end of my chair's report. Yes.
I know we discussed in the past, having another seat for staff on the executive committee, and you had mentioned to us that the president was very supportive of that. Is there
Of
any
cabinet?
movement? Yeah.
So what, let's talk about that more. And it wasn't, I don't know that there's been discussion of a seat on cabinet. There's discussion of forming a governance leaders council. Is that the wording from this? So the governance plan revision committee, one of their proposals was the creation of a couple additional governance bodies. The department chairs, the academic department chairs have already formed the council of chairs and elected a chair. Yes, so they did that. It was only, well, now it's probably a month ago. And Mike Napolitano, the chair of business and technology, is their first chair, but they're planning to rotate. So that's their plan. And so there has been no more talk. I've talked with President Adams about forming this governance leaders council who would meet with him once or twice, once a semester, I think. And well, we'll talk more about that, but we need to strengthen COSA or expand it a bit so that there is a representative to serve on that. So any other questions or comments? I am going to, I know that Lila, who is the chair of the academic standing committee, needs to leave shortly. So if it's okay with you, chairs, you will be next. You are still, I believe, the committee on committees chair. So we'll hear from, if it's okay if I let Lila go first, do you have a report for us, Lila? And then chairs, you can go next. We're on to the reports of the standing committees.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Christy. So, well, you pretty much conveyed my reports of what we are going to be doing. So my 2.5 hours here were very fruitful. Anyways, we'll be taking up the attendance policy as you know, this issue with web attendance has emerged, and we realized that administration is kind of approaching the problem a little bit backwards by thinking and talking about the software rather than the policy that the software is attached to. So I had a discussion with Christy and we agreed, and I also had a discussion with Dion Miller, and I want to say that she is 100% on board as well, that we have to address the policy first before we can make decisions about the software. So the plan is as follows. We have a meeting in November. That meeting will be preliminarily or primarily dedicated to this policy. Dee Miller and the provost will attend. They asked to attend that meeting. Vera Albrecht will be also invited to the meeting because we know that academic appeals is probably the committee that relies on this, you know, the attendance the most. We will discuss, we'll have a discussion. We will talk about pros and cons. We will do our investigation before, prior, during, and after. And then we will ask each faculty representative from the committee to take this issue back to their department, to the next departmental meeting, which will be after our meeting, right afterwards. And then at the December meeting, the faculty representatives will bring back whatever they have heard from their departments. And then the committee will make, deliberate, the academic standing committee will deliberate based on all the information we have on the subject. And based on that, we expect to make a recommendation to the Senate in December. And then the Senate can take it up, and then we can take it from there. So that's our goal. We're also working slowly. We were planning to start working on the online learning policies as well, but this kind of interrupted the flow a little bit, but I'm hoping that we will have some time to discuss that too. Oh, and we have an updated website. So check it out. I'll put it in the link. It's looking better and better. And we also had a successful workshop on academic policies with a couple of new policies that has been recorded, and it's on our website. So if you have time, check it out. There are timestamps, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. You can just focus on whatever, questions you might have. That's all from me. Thank you so much. And thanks, Christy, for, the work.
Thank you, Lila. Thank you very much. All right. Committee on Committees. Chairs, the current chair, do you have a report?
Yes, so our priority is going to be staffing the Senate Transfer Committee. They actually lost quite a few members from faculty. So if anyone, the other constituencies, if you have any faculty that want to be involved, please let me know, or the next chair, let them know. As of right now, Jay Shri stepped down, and so Alexa and Missoon DeCoco will be chairing the Senate committee, and they are also not present at the moment, Christy, just a heads up.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Chairs. Then Committee on Campus Affairs. Anita, any report? No report. Committee of Faculty, a report. Leslie or Diane?
Yes, Christy, I have the report. The Committee of Faculty discussed wish list items for the 2022-2023 academic year. Those items are the SERS revisions, the Advising 3.0, enrollment, new lecture lines, and faculty role in advising. In addition, we talked about the Academic Freedom Committee. Co-chair Senator Kehoe and Akanda would like to recruit new members and suggested that the committee reach out to faculty council, including faculty who may be interested to serve on the committee. In addition, there was a suggestion that the committee should move to the committee of Senate rather than a subcommittee or committee of faculty.
So Academic Freedom, you're suggesting it become a committee of the Senate rather than a subcommittee of the committee of faculty. Okay. And we will continue that. Thank you very much, Diane. Yeah. Committee on Professional Development. I saw you, Derek. Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear? The only thing to report is that our full meeting will be on Zoom.
Well, we lost you there, Derek. Try again. Oh.
The only thing to report is that our full meeting will be at 1 p.m.
On what day?
November 15th.
Okay, November 15th, 1 p.m. Thank you, Derek. Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, so the Budget and Finance Committee met yesterday. We had a town hall almost scheduled. We'll confirm the date on Tuesday, November 15, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. The town hall will be open to all the college community, and the idea is budget 099 or 101. Just to explain, how LaGuardia is funded, the sources of funding, and and what we spend our money on. And if we have, we'll do it probably in C103, and it will be on Zoom and in person. And hopefully, if we have good attendance, we'll do another one in the spring, and we may add little by little more information. So I don't know if we'll discuss really numbers in the fall, but at least we'll try to educate the college community which is what the resolution that the Senate passed was about, is that the budget become more transparent and more available to.
And let me emphasize the value of you promoting this in whatever your area with your constituents, because we all know how much accusations fly around about how the college spends its money. And the purpose of this is to educate us about how the money works.
And the town hall will be, the presentation won't be just by, Shahir and Carmen and Anthony, who are the budget people, but all of us on the committee will take part in the presentation. So it should be interesting. It's on it's Tuesday, November 15, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. The link will be sent, and if you're in person, it will be
Great.
C103.
Very good. Thank you, Patricia. The Committee of Staff and Alumni.
Oh, also, sorry.
Yeah.
There is, sorry about that, the CUNY has given more money for travel over the next couple of years. CUNY is allowed about $38,000 per year, for one time, and it covers everybody. It's money that's for everybody, not just for faculty. So the budget committee is probably going to use the same formula we have used so far to split the funds. There's a discrepancy in some of the descriptions of who the funds are for. In some ways, it says for all the employees. In other documents, it said only full-time employees. So Anthony is trying to figure out if it's only for full-time employees or also for part-time employees. But as such, it's for all instructional staff. Okay? The difference between faculty and staff is that staff are allowed to ask for $3,000 through the PSC CUNY for travel funds. So, but as Loretta mentioned, it's not always accepted. So but that's not available to faculty. But this money, $38,000 or so for fiscal year 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024.
All right. Thank you very much. COSA.
The committee is meeting after this meeting to elect new leadership, co-chairs and senators.
We already elected.
Oh, we didn't do an official vote. So that's why I was supposed to.
You said we were going to do that. Okay, we can discuss it. If you want to make the announcement, that's fine.
No, that's fine. I didn't realize it was official.
So not official yet, but there may be new leadership for COSA.
There will be new leadership.
There will be new
That part
leadership.
is official.
That part is very official.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. We're skipping the Committee of Students for today. We'll work on the Committee of Students. The Committee on Elections. Patricia, you don't have an update. Done.
We completed the election cycle for 2022, 2023.
Right.
See you next year.
Yes, come what may. Transfer committee chairs are not here. I skipped the executive committee because you heard my chair's report. Food and Security, Justice and Community Need Committee. Rebecca or Madeline, do you have an update? I don't know.
Madeline is not here, but one thing is that she is stepping down as co-chair because she's leaving for a position at BMCC, unfortunately. So we are going to fill the co-chair position soon within the FIJCN committee. I can just say, look for another campaign, a fundraising campaign for LaGuardia Cares office for toiletries and other needed items. We don't want to clash with the LHI, LaGuardia Humanitarian Initiative, to raise direct funds for food insecurity right now. So we are going to do a drive for toiletries and other needed items for students and the college community. So look for that campaign to be advertised soon and share widely, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Ad hoc committees, there is one brand new ad hoc committee that didn't make the agenda, which is the PNB in Departmental Leadership Article Revision Committee. Do you want to say anything, Patricia? You're chairing that one too?
Okay, so the committee is finally formed. 20 people will be on the committee. The first meeting is this Friday. I will keep you abreast of what's happening at that committee after a week.
Sounds good. So that is the committee that is revising the governance plan articles focused on the PNB and departmental leadership. So governance plan revision committee, Leslie.
The committee has the clean copy and is looking that over. I've asked for comments by Monday so that the Senate will have the clean copy for voting to go out on Wednesday with the agenda and the minutes. So there have just been some slight changes, which I'll highlight in the message that goes out to all of you. 2 votes, one is early November, one is late November. So we're at the end here.
So look for that, pay special attention to the Senate invitation that will come for the next meeting because it will include the governance plan revision that we'll be voting on. IT Advisory Committee, Jamie.
Yeah, so we met last week and some of the actually announcements that you covered in your chair's report, but we did have a discussion about the new LMS, Brightspace. And so IT shared that may be a switch over in spring 2024 potentially. I know previously it was said maybe in December 2023, so around that time. Also, our email service is switching from the Outlook service we have now to Office 365, which is going to use the cloud, and we're getting 100 times more inbox space. So that's amazing. It's really, really exciting. My inbox has been full since like the second week of classes, so that's good news. And there will be multi-factor identification for that. So that's the only thing that might be a little bit, challenging, but they're gonna, IT's gonna communicate very clearly how to do that. And the target date is mid-January for that switch over. So it's happening soon and everything is gonna be able to transfer smoothly. You're not gonna lose anything because it's all Microsoft products. So it'll be pretty seamless for us. There is also going to be a ticket request system change. This goes for all the tickets requested across campus, but it's starting with IT tickets or IT requests. So it's central office has decided to get the new ticket system, which is called ServiceNow, and it's the largest in the country. So it's pretty well tested, and there's not an exact date for that, but it's going to operate very similarly to our current ticket system. And then last but not least, just, with regard to web attendance, it seemed to be, and IT did recommend, representatives for IT said, bring this up obviously with Senate. So it sounds like that is already being discussed, but there seems to be a prevailing opinion that web attendance will be shut down at the end of the semester. But the question remains as to what, if anything, is going to replace it, how we're going to handle attendance going forward. So that is up to obviously the various committees.
Great. Patricia, question?
Yeah, question about the interface. You were mentioning that Outlook is moving to Microsoft 365, but the interface is the same, right?
Yeah, so it's going to look it's all Microsoft products, so it's going to have the same basic look and feel and functionality of that. So it's not going to be.
But it's not called Outlook.
I am not positive what it's technically called. It may, instead of saying like Outlook, it might say 365 or something. I'm not sure if anyone else uses 365, but I was going to say, I think it's pretty
because
identical.
of time, I'm gonna continue talking about this, but let's keep going. And let me remind you, especially if you're a new senator, your job is hearing all this stuff. And then when you finding a way to report back to your constituents. So this is part of the communication role. Let the people within your area or who you represent know what you're hearing about at Senate. And Jamie, thank you for that report. And we're so glad that this committee is functioning. History Committee. Loretta, do you have a report for the History Committee?
The History Committee, as we mentioned, I know with 4 more people that we have the oral histories done with any notations that they might like. We're presenting it to the Executive Committee for their decision and invitation to those members. And it's really, we're going to continue with the format about interviews that by Hugo on the radio, and then Tom Cleary in the library is going to help us do an archive, and then So it's moving slower than we'd like, but it's moving.
If you feel free to CC me on any of the emails too, to give us, we can fast track you for the radio.
Oh, he's doing it during his segment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Sounds good. All right, thank you, Loretta. Online Learning Committee. Sandra.
We sent our report to the Bloomberg people and that they're working on the.
All right, very good. And Liz is a newly elected senator and is home today, so isn't with us.
And if I could add, the committee's now moved to phase 2. We've just begun the conversation of student service.
Great. Student service, online services.
Problem.
Yes, sounds good. Great. All right, thank you. Non-Senate committees, advising council. Jean, is there an update?
Just registration for spring 2023 is November 1st. And on November 2nd, instructional staff meeting, they will be talking about advisement 3.0.
Thank you, Jeannie. And enrollment management planning group. Jill, that's you.
Yes. So I met with new VP of Communications, Manny Romero. And he was willing to help the criminal justice program transform some of its recruitment materials to be more of a template for anybody at the college who wants to do recruitment with regard to their own connections to community-based organizations or citywide agencies. I know that the criminal justice program targets a lot of groups that are kind of associated with our discipline. So we do outreach with the foster care system and the correctional facilities in New York City, but I'm sure that you guys have connections elsewhere. And I'll be discussing this at the committee of faculty, but there's kind of now a new template where you can add in your own information about your program, and you can kind of have a nice marketing, communications friendly, publication or presentation for that. And Corey Feldman and I also are scheduling a meeting with President Adams this week to discuss our outreach efforts in the criminal justice system with foster care and our partnership with Queensborough Correctional next door. So,
great. All right. Thank you, Jill. Sounds good. All right. That's the end of our committee reports. We have no unfinished business this time. Any new business? That would need to be decided by our executive committee, I believe. I'm going to move right on. Announcements?
I just
Anthony?
have a question for Leslie. You said the governance plan, the revised plan was sent to it. I didn't see a latest draft.
Please check your email. If it's not there, I will absolutely send again.
Then, I think we're done. I need a motion. Well, before we adjourn, let me thank you all for being here and for sitting through all of this, including you who are online. Show up next time on in well, we'll have cookies. The next meeting is November 9th. Not 2 weeks from now, right? No, yeah, 2 weeks. Okay. And so I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Suman seconded, Sabine firsted. I did it again. All in favor? Aye. Thank you again for being here, everybody. That ends the meeting. Thank you all.
Jill, are you guys doing committee of faculty? So I gotta teach, that's why I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
But if you could announce the tenure promotion form on the 10th.
Okay.
We have a full panel. I'm gonna send out the flyer. I'm supposed to send it out last night, but I haven't made it yet, so that would be like a tonight or tomorrow thing.
Familiar with that approach.
Yeah.
The committee of
Thank
faculty meeting is happening online.
Thank you very much. Have fun.
I'm like trying to, Diane. Are you
Right here, Diane.
Oh, that, Diane. Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know, because I saw you nodding and I'm like, I assume you want to be Diane then, so you seem like you know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, I don't know everybody yet. So Diane, I saw Leslie up there. All right, so.
Is anybody gonna stick around and do it over here? You gonna go next door?